All right, here we go for example 2 when we're talking about those measures of center. This time we're going to be talking about what happens to the data set when we remove an outlier. And this begins the idea of why there's such a difference between mean and median, especially which one should be represented for what. Okay, so outlier. The outlier in this data set is the $16.50. It's just far and above beyond everything else. Now, remember, an outlier doesn't have to be one number. It can be a group of numbers. It can actually be on both sides. It can be all around a data set. It's anything that doesn't belong with the main group. So it's outside of it. Think of it kind of like Pluto. Pluto is kind of an outlier planet because it's well away from everything else within the solar system. Even though in the solar system it's all far apart. Anyway, so you can think of Pluto as an outlier because it's way out there compared to everything else, which we can kind of put into a model. All right, moving on. How does the outlier affect the mean, median, and mode? It treats it like a rubber band, okay? This is where I get to try and do my visual. I accidentally buried it. Give me a second. There we go. Okay. Pretend this is the middle of your data, okay? And that's what the paperclip represents. So if everything's grouped together, that's representative of the middle, and the mean and the median are all there. The mode is wherever, the mode's not really affected, but all of a sudden you have an outlier. Okay, if I didn't have an outlier down on this end, it's all this group, but I have one outlier, 1650. What happened was it really stretched out that mean and even the median to a degree. Though it's going to have less of an effect on the median, and we'll take time talking about that. But what's happening to an outlier is, let's see, now I'm moving both, but I have one further to my left, what looks like you're right on the screen. The paperclip is still moving from where it was. So again, what the outlier does is it changes at least the mean. It's going to affect the most. The median, it'll affect the second most. The mode, it doesn't really affect at all, but it definitely affects the range. So the two that the outlier affects the most are the range and the mean. So the following shows that the outlier 1650 increases the mean and the range, which I know wasn't on there. So if we're going to do anything, it is going to affect to some degree the median. Because if it, ooh, that's just horrible handwriting. If it didn't exist at all, that median would have fell somewhere else in the data set, and usually further down, because as we're adding to the end or the beginning, we're either pulling it bigger or smaller. But it does not affect the mode. And the employees who earn 1650 could be like an assistant manager. There's somebody who's not going to be probably pulled off the street given a job after turning in an application. But, they do exist. So describe one possible explanation of the outlier. They could be an assistant manager.